Okay. I'm Chelsea Lee with Wild Country 99 with a very special guest. I have Missy Heilman, who is the CEO and founder of Bio Girls. Hello and good morning, Missy.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
This is so great. So I kind of stumbled upon Bio Girls. If you don't know what that is, it is, I'm going to call it a community. It's an organization, it's a nonprofit, but it's also a community that's focusing on young girls that are beautiful inside and out. And it's a phenomenal organization. Missy, what made you think? I mean, it's definitely a need in the community, as you can see how much it's grown. But what made you come up with Bio Girls?
Yeah, we believe that when girls find their inner beauty, it shines on the outside as well. Back in 2012, I was the mom of two young girls. Now I have three not so young girls. As a female, just hearing the messages that society like pours into us that we need to be someone other than who God created us to be was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Seeing that through the eyes or the lens of my two little girls. And I just thought, man, I need to do something about this. At the same time, I had a desire to give back as a mentor in our community. I had amazing mentors growing up who helped change my life. I grew up in an amazing house with very loving parents who gave me every opportunity in the world, but mentors still had an impact on me, and I just wanted to pay that forward. And so those were really the two catalysts for the creation of Bio Girls. I created it as a program at our church with no intention of it being an organization serving thousands of girls each year, nor did I believe that it would be my full-time job. I had a career in high-tech marketing. I was working full time as a VP of marketing. So I truly started this as a passion project on the side. And now here we are a decade later, and it is my full time job. And I pinch myself every morning.
God's so good how he works those things out. And I
Mhm.
love how it started with you as a mom, very intimate, like with your young girls, your young children, and watching them hurt like that. It's one thing when we reflect on our childhood, but
Mhm.
then to see our kids going through the same thing, it's heartbreaking. But you have been able to find just empowerment tools, and it's incredible. So now, Bio Girls had originated in Fargo, correct?
Correct. Yep.
And now it's all over, including right here in central Minnesota.
Yeah. So that first year I led the program in Fargo, and that after that season, a mom reached out from Fergus Falls, Minnesota, and said, I need to bring this to our community. And from there, it's really women who connect with our mission. They say, I wish I would have had that when I was young. I need that here. Many are moms, but some aren't. Some are boy moms. Some don't have any kids. Some are grandmas. And we do have a few men that are involved as well. And they just really, truly understand the need for a program. Like you said, I loved that you framed it up as a community, because that's really what it is. It's all about connection. And along the way, we help girls discover their inner strength, their inner beauty, and we're dispelling that myth that their worth is tied to how they look. And so that's such an important part of what we do.
100%. 100%. Your confidence comes from within and knowing your value. And that ties into Christian values as well. I mean, we believe that God has inherently given each one of us, every person on this earth has value, has great value. And then as we're growing up, we're given all these conflicting messages. And I would say that the harshest critic would be the inner critic that we have in
Mhm.
our head, the battlefield of the mind. And that leads me into it is going to be, it's May and it's Mental Health Awareness Month. Our mental health is just as important as our physical health. And Missy, I believe you would agree, because a lot of your program is working on your mind and your mental health.
Yeah. So our mission is to improve the mental health of adolescent girls through empowerment of self and connection with others. And so, people see us doing the physical activity piece, which I'll talk a little bit more
Right.
about in a bit. That's what they visually see us do. But the magic is actually what happens in the sessions of Bio Girls, where we are teaching girls various topics. We focus on leadership and leadership in the sense that females are far less likely than males to take healthy risks. So to go for the job promotion, to try a new sport, to sing the solo in the choir, they're less likely to do those types of things because they're afraid they're going to fail. And so
Hmm.
we're working with girls to take those healthy risks, to understand that action conquers fear and that they can do hard things. We also focus on kindness. So you already said it, that inner critic that becomes really loud when girls develop that inner voice around third or fourth grade. And so we're working with girls. In fact, this morning I was working on the lesson that I'm going to present to the girls on Sunday, and it was all about that inner critic and changing that narrative. So being as kind to yourself as you are to your friends or to other people. And so that's where kindness comes in. But we're also, of course, encouraging girls to be kind to others. A big part of the program is giving back to the community. So every single bio girl, so this year we'll have about 3,000,
Wow.
partakes in a service project in their community. So it's pretty cool. We also talk about healthy relationships.
Hmm.
Um, Younger and younger, if you talk to any educator or any parent, you'll understand that the mean girl syndrome is starting younger and younger in kids. Um, and so we are working with girls to identify what is a healthy friendship? What are those characteristics? What do you do when you understand or you identify that a friendship is not healthy? It's actually the number one piece of feedback we get from parents is my girls were struggling or my daughter was struggling with a friend. She developed the vocabulary and the skill set to be able to deal with that and stick up for herself. And so we're working with girls on skills that deal with issues that they will face. Even if they're not facing it right now, they will face it as they continue to grow. And it's often those issues that will chip away at their self-esteem. Um,
Hmm.
Research shows that self-esteem is highest in girls in third grade and plummets to a low in sixth grade. And that's when things get real hard, that middle school age. And so we're working with girls to maintain and increase their self-esteem, but also learn the tools that they need to deal with those issues so that they can maintain that self-esteem, even if they aren't an active bio girl.
I think that is so crucial. I've also noticed the trend. Their environment that they have right now currently was very different from us
Mhm.
growing up at that age. There's still a lot of similarities with the self-doubt, with the wanting to fit in, wanting to be accepted, with the messages of you have to be nice when you're a girl, but when somebody is violating your boundaries or when they're tearing you down, being nice isn't going to change that behavior. You need to learn how to, like you said, speak up for yourself and be assertive and set healthy boundaries. And saying no can be a good thing. What role have you seen with social media? Do you think that that's made a greater impact on our young girls now than when it wasn't even a thing?
Absolutely. There's no safe place anymore for kids. You know, even at home, they're subject to online bullying, or they just always feel like they have to be connected. They're going to miss something if they're not constantly looking at their phone, or if they don't have social media. That's how kids are communicating these days. And so again, it's really about building the girls up to be confident enough to be okay missing out, not having to be in the know, not worrying about those external factors. It Research has shown that girls are much more likely than boys, first of all, to spend hours and hours on social media, but secondly, to allow that comparison factor to intrinsically impact them. Boys can scroll and move on with their day. Girls internalize what they're seeing as something that affects them. And so the more time that girls are spending on social media, the more that's happening. And so as parents, as caregivers, yes, it seems like it's a never-ending job to ensure that girls are not spending so much time on social media. But then how are you having conversations about what they're seeing and how it impacts them? One of the best pieces of advice that I read in a book once was that you should have conversations with your daughter or someone under your care, someone you love, about saying, would you go to that person's house? Would you knock on the door and ask to go into their house and have a conversation with them? If you wouldn't, they shouldn't be your friend on social media. So and
Wow.
that's how kids feel connected these days, is the number of people that follow them, the number of likes they get. But as parents and caregivers, we again should have those conversations that does not correlate to self-worth. And so that comes back to what we're doing in Bio Girls, where we are encouraging girls to look inside and up to God for their worth, not externally and basing on what other people are saying.
And are you seeing a difference from the first day that maybe they're tentative, maybe anxious about actually going to the first day of Bio Girls and then the last day?
Oh, absolutely. We see it all the time. There's just girls are typically nervous about trying something new. If they've never been in Bio Girls before, they don't know what they're getting into, or maybe their mom said they're going to run a 5K and they absolutely don't want to. So they have a lot of trepidation about being there. But again, the magic happens when we're connecting these girls with positive mentors in their life. They're connected with peers that they may not know otherwise outside of Bio Girls. And for a lot of these girls, Bio Girls becomes their thing. So there's a little girl named Ellie who was in my session that I continue to lead, and she was literally koala beared on her mom's leg the
Oh.
first night. She did not take her coat, her hat, or her crossbody bag off for the entire hour and a half session. She had to be roasting, but she was ready to make a getaway at any point because she just did not want to be there. Well, guess what? Ellie has now been in Bio Girls for 3 years straight,
Oh.
um, and loves it. And we've seen so much growth and maturity in her. And her mom told me a story at the end of the first year. So our program's 12 weeks long, and typically girls participate annually. So they can come back. Our curriculum changes from year to year. Um, but at the end of that first season, at the end of that first 12 weeks, her mom shared with me that she was a second grader at the time. She noticed another young girl on the playground getting bullied by a boy. And so Ellie went up and stood up for the girl. And her mom said, "I'm so proud of you for doing that." And she said, "That's what Bio Girls do."
Oh, wow. And then that sets a chain reaction. When
Hmm.
when you have that awareness, when you see something and you say something and you speak up in a kind but assertive way. I
Yeah.
love that. What a transformation. That's
Yeah.
changed her life.
And we say, we have 3,000 girls going through the program this year alone. Yes, we're impacting those individual girls, but it's a snowball effect. We have had unsolicited feedback from teachers, other educators, counselors, saying that there is a big difference between girls who go through Bio Girls and those who don't in the classroom setting. Those who go through Bio Girls model the behavior. They're kinder. They step up in leadership roles. They're taking those healthy risks, and they're setting the example for their peers, whether that's in a classroom or on a sports team or even in the home. And so we say our impact is far greater than the 3,000 girls that are in the program.
That is just incredible. Again, we are talking with Missy Heilman, BioGirls founder and CEO. Beautiful inside and out. They are building confidence, connection, and character in the Midwest. And as we wrap up talking about Mental Health Awareness Month for May, Missy, what are some things that parents, teachers, or even our girls out there, any of our children out there, what are some things that they should be focusing on this month to make those first steps to enhance their mental health?
Yeah, one of the difficult things with self-esteem or mental health is often what's happening is happening inside of your brain and it's not visible. And by the time it becomes visible, you're so far down, a dark hole of mental health issues. And so for parents and for caregivers, it's that communication. It's that reinforcement that you're worthy of you're worth it for who you are, not for what you do. You know, our society is so focused on achievement and results and success, and we are expecting so much of our kids right now, whether it's sports or the classroom, and reminding parents that kids need to be kids, that they need to have time where they're bored, where they're relaxing, where they're just able to go outside and play as a kid without worrying about a college scholarship or making the next sports team or getting the lead in the play. Like, let them be kids, because that is going to be so far better for their mental health and really for them as they continue to grow, to know that their worth is not tied to achievement or results or success or how they look. And so, you know, as parents and caregivers, sometimes that's hard for us because we think we're giving kids opportunity by getting them involved and getting them so busy and so scheduled. But far more than social media, that's actually what's driving anxiety and mental health issues in our kids.
They wanna please the parents, they don't wanna make mistakes, or they don't think that if they make a mistake, then that means that they're bad. It's
Mhm.
learning all these things about ourselves, and I'm just so grateful for an organization, a community like yours, Missy, impacting 3,000 girls. Who knows? Sky's the limit. I mean, if somebody wants to start a Bio Girls in their community, they can do it, and you have made it so accessible.
Yeah, you know, that's how we've continued to grow. We grow word of mouth. We grow because somebody knows a participant in central North Dakota or southern Minnesota and says, we need this here. We have a turnkey program, meaning you raise your hand and say, I want to lead it in my community. We work with you to make that happen. All the materials, the curriculum, everything that you need to do to get it running in your community. You're supported by Bio Girls, and you're receiving all of those materials from Bio Girls. So biogirls.org is our website. Have a whole section on volunteering. So if you want to lead, that's fantastic. We have mentoring, so that's where you're working directly with the kids in a small group setting. And of course, we're a 501c3, so donations fuel our mission and make it possible.
That's incredible. Thank you again, Missy. And just remember this May, this Mental Health Awareness Month, focus on your mental health. It's just as important as your physical health. Be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself, and just know we're all a work in progress and we are all so valuable despite what it is that we say, think, or do, or how we look. Thank you so much, Missy.
Thank you. I appreciate it.